Super Rugby titles are not won in the early months of the season, and history repeatedly reminds us that form in autumn doesn't always translate to silverware in winter. Yet, as the 2026 campaign unfolds, there is one storyline Australian rugby simply cannot afford to ignore: the ACT Brumbies' remarkable dominance over New Zealand opposition. By the time Ireland arrive in Australia for their highly anticipated July tour, Wallabies selectors may find themselves facing an unavoidable truth: the Brumbies' success is not a fluke. It is a blueprint. Brumbies quietly building something special. The Brumbies' latest victory, a gritty 14-10 win over the Highlanders in Dunedin, was far from pretty. It lacked the attacking fireworks seen in earlier rounds and often felt like a contest decided by discipline and resilience rather than brilliance. But in many ways, that made the result even more significant. Great teams don't just win when everything clicks, they find ways to win when it doesn't. Stephen Larkham's side has now secured 4 consecutive victories against New Zealand teams in the space of 2 months. That run includes a stunning 50-24 demolition of the Crusaders in Christchurch, a dramatic late 30-27 triumph over the Blues, and a composed 33-24 victory against a Chiefs side led by Damian McKenzie. Those aren't just wins, they are statements. Now, with a clash against the Hurricanes looming on Anzac Day during Super Round in Christchurch, the Brumbies stand on the brink of an extraordinary clean sweep against Kiwi opposition. Achieving that would be a rare feat in modern Super Rugby history, where New Zealand teams have long set the benchmark. Winning matters, even if it's not flashy. Skeptics will argue that regular season success means little without playoff glory. And they wouldn't be entirely wrong. The Brumbies' season will ultimately be judged on how deep they go in the finals, but dismissing their current run would be a mistake. New Zealand teams have dominated Super Rugby for decades because of their consistency, depth, and ability to execute under pressure. The Brumbies are now matching those traits, and, crucially, beating those very teams at their own game. For Wallabies selectors, this presents both an opportunity and a dilemma. A team without superstars, or is it? What makes the Brumbies rise even more fascinating is the relative lack of automatic Wallaby starters in their lineup. Alan Alaalatoa is one of the few names who walk straight into the national side when fit, though even he has only recently returned from injury. Rob Valaini remains a cornerstone of the Wallabies pack, bringing physicality and consistency at the highest level. Beyond those two, certainty fades. Tom Wright, arguably Australia's most dangerous back, hasn't played a minute this season yet. Nick Frost, despite his immense potential, began the year out of favour due to form and conditioning concerns. James Slipper, a veteran of Australian rugby, has stepped away from international duties. At least for now. Hooker Billy Pollard has featured regularly for the Wallabies, but the rest of the squad is filled with players who hover on the fringes of Test selection. Ryan Lonergan, for instance, was used sparingly by Joe Schmidt last season, often as a reluctant option rather than a first-choice pick. Corey Toole had to wait patiently for his opportunity, while Blake Shoop has endured injury setbacks that stalled his international progress. In the back row, Charlie Cale's rise has been interrupted by injury. Luke Reimer has fallen out of the Test picture, and Rory Scott is still waiting for his first call-up. Similarly, players like Declan Meredith, David Feliui, Ollie Sapsford, and Andy Muirhead continue to perform without receiving consistent national recognition, and yet, they keep winning. A champion team versus a team of champions. There's an old sporting cliché that perfectly captures the Brumbies' identity: they are a champion team, not a team of champions. They may not boast the individual brilliance or X-factor seen in other franchises, but they possess something arguably more valuable: cohesion, clarity, and a deep understanding of how to win tight matches. That raises an important question: should more Brumbies players be pushing for Wallaby selection? The answer increasingly feels like yes. While other players across Australia may offer flashes of brilliance, the Brumbies offer reliability. They execute game plans, handle pressure situations, and consistently outperform expectations, all qualities essential at Test level. With Ireland's arrival on the horizon, selectors would be wise to consider not just individual talent, but combinations and systems that already work. Reds need a physical edge while the Brumbies are thriving. The Queensland Reds find themselves at a crossroads. Despite making the playoffs in recent seasons, they have struggled to genuinely challenge for the title. Their exits have often been one-sided, exposing a gap in physicality and intensity compared to top-tier opposition. Lukhan Salakaia-Loto holds the key to changing that narrative. Once known as a bruising blindside flanker under Michael Chika, Salakaia-Loto built his reputation on bone-rattling hits and relentless aggression. However, his recent shift into a tighter, lock-focused role has not always delivered the same impact. Too often, he has failed to dominate collisions or generate the post-contact meters required at the highest level. That must change. Against the Crusaders, there were encouraging signs. Salakaia-Loto ran harder lines, demanded the ball, and looked more intent on imposing himself physically. If he can build on that performance, he could become the enforcer the Reds, and the Wallabies, desperately need. With Will Skelton's long-standing influence leaving a significant void, Australia is searching for a new powerhouse in the second row. Salakaia-Loto has the size, experience, and skill set to fill that role, but only if he consistently delivers. Cross-border selections could shape the future. Another intriguing development in Super Rugby this season has been the signing of George Bridge by the Western Force. Initially, the move drew criticism. Some Australian voices questioned why a non-eligible player was taking up a roster spot, while New Zealand observers viewed the transfer with skepticism after Bridge's stint in France. But the narrative is shifting. Bridge has proven to be more than just a useful addition. He has become a case study in how Super Rugby could evolve, with player drain to European competitions continuing to challenge Southern Hemisphere rugby. The traditional model may no longer be sustainable. Expanding eligibility rules and allowing players to represent their countries while playing across borders could be a solution that would strengthen the competition, improve player retention, and raise overall standards. Bridge's success suggests that such a model isn't just theoretical, it can work in practice. Lomax makes a strong first impression. Few environments in World Rugby are as challenging as playing in Fiji against the Drua. The conditions are punishing: thick, humid air, heavy turf, and an atmosphere that can overwhelm even experienced players. Many teams have crumbled under the pressure, losing both composure and structure. Zach Lomax, however, handled the occasion with impressive composure. Instead, Lomax looked comfortable. He was safe under the high ball, contributed to attacking movements, and showed a willingness to engage in the physical aspects of the game. Even at the breakdown, often a challenging area for newcomers, he held his own. Western Force coach Simon Cron managed his introduction perfectly, easing him into the contest rather than throwing him into the deep end. If Lomax continues on this trajectory, he could become a valuable asset in the months ahead. The rise of hybrid players. One of the most fascinating tactical trends in modern rugby is the emergence of hybrid players, athletes capable of operating across traditional positional boundaries. What was once considered unconventional is now becoming standard practice. Super Rugby is now following suit. Lester Fainga'anuku has been deployed both in the back line and the forward pack for the Crusaders, showcasing his versatility and physicality. Similarly, Filippo Dagunu offers the Reds a unique skill set, capable of playing on the wing, in the midfield, or even contributing as a loose forward. Dagunu's ability to compete at the breakdown, carry strongly, and cover multiple positions makes him an invaluable asset. For the Wallabies, embracing such versatility could be crucial in the evolving landscape of international rugby. Final thoughts: as the 2026 Super Rugby season progresses, narratives will shift and new contenders will emerge. But one thing is already clear: the Brumbies have laid down a marker. Their unbeaten run against New Zealand teams is not just a statistical anomaly, it is evidence of a system that works. For Wallaby selectors, the challenge is to recognize that success and translate it to the international stage. Whether that means backing more Brumbies players, adopting their structures, or simply learning from their approach, the lessons are there.